This week in disc golf, Proctor finally gets his first elite victory. Silva is still on her European tear. Vinyl lands a multi-year deal. Innova needs some credit, and that's rare coming from me, and so much more. What's going on, all you disgenerates? It's Swiss Cheese, the one with all the holes in his game with the disc golf world. The YouTube channel all your favorite pros never miss. You're watching This Week in Disc Golf, where I cover all things disc golf from the past week. First, thanks to every one of you for taking the time to watch, those of you who have subscribed, and of course, every member who contributes to the Patreon. With all your efforts and support, you've helped carry this channel to over 21,000 subscribers, and quickly on our way to surpass 22. That's just in a year and a half of us covering professional disc golf. Truly incredible when I actually take the time to consider just how far we've come in just a short amount of time. And trust me in saying it, it wouldn't be possible without each and every one of you. The pros were scattered across the globe at a number of events, so let's jump into all the busy action from this past week. Though most pros elected to stay stateside, others, including some of the sport's biggest names, instead trekked to Europe for the Swedish Open, presented by Castaplast, as it held the only elite status over the weekend. The European courses that have been showcased on the DGN Europe coverage have been incredibly scenic, while testing pros with tight lines and holes, needing more touch than most US stops. The Swedish Open would be no different. Day 1 would finish with Paul McBeth taking a Day 1 lead, a week removed from Ricky extending his streak to 14 years with an Elite Series victory. For many, most felt Paul was looking to respond by matching the feat at an event that he took down the year prior. The touchy wooded course seemed tailor-made for the GOAT to take down the event. Yet with McBeth's second round, 4 under Day 2, that dropped him 4 strokes off the lead, it would be an uphill climb. The day was made worse by having one of the most brutal spit-outs on the season. And that's saying a lot, considering we're not that far removed from those weekend lowlights that the Preserve Prodigy baskets just gave us. This time, fans would witness a McBeth disc springboard out of the basket nearly as high as a Simone Biles vault. It was so bad, other pros from home chirped in with both Simon Lizotte and Drew Gibson. Drew being especially angry at the House of Discs. Day 2 instead would feature some of Europe's youngest talents, with teenagers Roland Kerr and Eetu Tuominen making final day lead card. And let's not forget hot round heroics from both Dennis Augustin and Ricky Wysocki. And to be honest, Ricky needed it, as he started the day in 81st place. But it would be James Proctor's 9-under performance from the lead card that would see him in the lead after Day 2. And once he captured that lead, would not relinquish it for the remainder of the weekend. James hit 5 putts from C2 on the day, all resulting in birdies, and finished second over the entire weekend in C2 percentage, which along with his putting performance overall would be the deciding factor for him securing his first Elite Series win in 13 years. Primarily known for his West Coast success, was always considered one of the best throwers to not be touring full-time, only for him to take the leap just last year with extended stops overseas that few touring pros match, which would ultimately lead to his first Elite Series victory. Though the victory is treated equally in title and points as a regular dgpt Elite Series event, without the player field, has many fans feeling like this is a lesser win when compared to the other Elite Series stops. This Elite Series only featured 3 of the top 10 dgbt points holders and 7 of the top 20, but still had some of the biggest names in the sport there in Ricky, Vinny, Nicolas, Eagle, and Paul. Criticisms made worse by the fact that most of these come from people who don't know the talents from Europe, with the exception of the ones who tour in America, which will hopefully fade over time as the DGPT Europe continues to grow. Along with it will be their promotion, features, and storylines of their touring pros, who are already not only skilled enough to challenge some of the best pros at stops in Europe, but also over in America. The efforts to diminish Proctor's victory is not only a disservice to him, but all those pros in Europe who will help push this sport to greater heights. And with the disc golf season now seeing further expansion with additional stops overseas, more and more competitive A tiers, injuries, and player scheduling breaks now, the player field at most stops will rarely feature the best in the world outside of the majors, making these statements nearly mute unless comparing these victories to other players' victories or Player of the Year talks, and should never be used to discredit a victory, certainly from somebody as cool as Proctor. With this latest victory, has yet another pro overcome past heartache to achieve their first Elite Series victory this season, as this list continues to grow. But I want to hear from you guys, so make sure to comment below on who you think will be the next to get their first Elite Series victory, and maybe explain to me why it's not Casey White or Gavin Rathbun. The only battle on the final day was for the remaining podium spots, All of them coming from Chase Carden, Paul McBeth, Joey Buckets Anderson, and Mari Vilman. Paul would score 8 birdies on the back half to cut the 4-stroke lead Buckets and Mari had heading into the final 9 holes. The 3 would tie at 21 under and a share for second place.
Beth at 69.
I just told myself, you got to will this one in there. Whatever you have, just will it in there.
This man is unbelievable. This is what athletes live for. This is the moment.
Over in the FPO, it saw similar results that we have seen all but one dgpt European stop this year, with Silver Saarinen winning yet again for her 5th victory in a row now, all coming in the month of June. Silva might look like she solves cold cases in her spare time between disc golf and creating radioactive spiders in a lab. Continues to take these events down with her excellent putting performances, missing only a single C1X putt over the entire 3 days, and finished the tournament 5 strokes better in strokes gained putting over Ella Hansen, who was in second place. Has only 2 events where she's finished outside the top 10, and since Champions Cup, where she took 4th, hasn't missed a podium since. MVP locked up Silva for the 2024 season, yet with this breakout year, she could be looking at a multi-year deal in this upcoming offseason. And that's despite the market forecast being all doom and gloom, and her yet to overcome her shyness in front of the cameras. Silva entered the final day tied with Henna Blomroos, who just shot the course record on day 2 with a 7 under, and also poor weather conditions with heavy rain still put the hot round together for the final day and saw her win comfortably by 5 strokes ahead of Henna, who has looked like she has improved on her putt but still finds herself below that 60% mark from C1X. Ella Hansen, one of the 2 Americans in the field, took a solo 3rd, beating out the Icelandic breakout Maria Aldikrestanadati. A mouthful for this American, and I apologize for the mispronunciation. I'm trying my best to battle all those consonants here. Ella's 1 under on the final day in the rain would be enough to edge out the Icelandic pro by 2 strokes. And let's also give her credit for that highlight throw-in also. The FPO has been in an influx with Kristen Tatar's departure, seeing several FPO winners in that span. With her return slated in 2 weeks at the Krakow Open, the FPO landscape will look to take shape on the back half of the season, which for the moment seems to be the most competitive it has seen in some time. Many expected Tatar return from dominance, but I for one don't match that enthusiasm. I think it might take a couple of stops before her dominance returns, no different than what we saw earlier from her this season. The event also featured Vaino Makla's announcement of him signing with Innova, this time getting the volume correct. Yes, that Caterpillar stash looks like it comes with its own badge, pension, and qualified immunity. That or he's going to try to sell me some Quaker Oats. The Innova sponsorship has been in development since this winter, highlighting Prodigy's issues being far longer term than most anticipated. The multi-year deal extends through the 2027 season and has been rumored to be over 125,000 euros per year, with this being the second contract that Innova has picked up mid-season. With these rumors of pay for a champion squad level player, maybe should silence some of the Innova doesn't pay its players critics, which I'm sure they're tired of. They added to an already impressive European lineup, now locking in one of the continent's most popular players, has a top 5 player in the game with one of the sport's premier contracts in Calvin Heimberg, has the largest and most supported veteran rosters in the sport, while also being the most likely favorite to buy up Prodigy as things still might be getting worse over there, and yet others in the media want to talk about how cheap they are. Sure, Innova is still antiquated in many of their business practices, but needs a lot more credit than they're getting here. They may have already proven that they were the most sound players during the COVID boom. Don't believe me? Decided not to match Dynamics' offer to Ricky, instead locking Vinny long-term, and now cleaning up the scraps left from other manufacturers' contract failures, which if the market continues will only improve, making this leader in the sport that much more powerful. There was also pros spread out over a number of A tiers, which just might be a sign of the game's future, because if manufacturers continue to shrink their rosters, could see many pros turning to more and more regional A tiers in the future. Adam Hammes has a heartbreaker of a finish at the Majestic with a 2-stroke swing on the final hole to hand the victory to Andrew Marweed for his first A-tier victory on the season, while Owen Scoggins led from start to finish in dominating fashion. The tournament featured plenty of history and the unveiling of Kayla Viska's latest project, The Hollows. Check out Jefferson's coverage of the event where he goes more in depth on just this last Monday's video. The Mid-American Open in Missouri had Aaron Gossage come back from 4 strokes on the back 9 to win his second A-tier of the season, while Hannah Wynn beat out Alexis Kerman over in the FPO. Chandler Fry overcame a 7-stroke deficit and most likely a toothache on the final day to beat Scott Withers at the British Columbia Open. While Sofia Donika's breakout season continues, taking down her first A-tier of the season in convincing fashion. Over in Michigan, Zach Arlinghouse won in a playoff over at the Discraft Oakland County Championship over in Milford, and Ashley Bowman was able to hold off a charging Vanessa Van Dyken for the win, while Kona Montgomery was able to win the Back in the Saddle 5 over in Indiana, where they had a 2-round day. The victory was her first since being cancer-free, while Tennessee's Harper Thompson won by 4 strokes in the MPO. Now let's get to some quick hitters. If you didn't see, Silas Schultz got a diss track disc release after that Drew Gibson dismantling. Kat Mertz made one of the biggest mistakes of the season and allowed Nico to cut her hair, having her out there on the course looking like Coconut Head, getting survival tips from Ned, Mose, and Cookie. Guys, don't be concerned. Somehow she will flip this into another Tour Series disc release. She's only got about 12. Mason Ford, Valerie, and Alexis Mondahano subjected themselves to overpriced food, comically long lines, and home to my very first job. Hopefully they brought in a Coke can for that discount. Bonus points given to whoever comments my job there. Danos, disc golfers have now entered the game. Greg Barsby's out here selling seasonings that will kick your ass to Flavor Town with his Barsby Bomber blend. Make sure to support if you can. Sarah Holcomb has been seen throwing on her Instagram as her return nears. It's been a year full of engagements, as world champion Isaac Robinson is the latest to pop the questions. Congratulations go out to them. Ella might just have climbed up my favorite disc golfer list, as she came through on a promise buying a pair of Sabrina 2s after her OTB win. Ricky hits up Asana, while James Conrad instead chooses to take a dip in the Mediterranean. And everyone who's attending has been sharing the shit show of weather over at Des Moines. Rumored with baskets being submerged in water, unplayable conditions for player practice rounds, and absolute sick nature cuts of snakes eating frogs. Karmo Tomlinson from Estonia sets the new world's longest disc golf hole record. Over 38 miles of not for fucking me, as these Europeans are built differently. Congrats, man. And guys, that wraps up this week in disc golf. If you've enjoyed and not subscribed, make sure to do so, as it helps fund another tour leg and this channel. Make sure to like, comment, and share, and if you want more, make sure to check out all the previous episodes.
Let's get it. Bingo.